when you're investing in real estate, you're getting started, or you're even fully into your vertical and you're having some success, the number one biggest issue is not having the system that will support it long term.
Joey, thank you for joining me on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. Again, I know last time we looked back, I was just mentioning this, it was December 2020 that we had you on last time. So, yeah, appreciate you coming back.
A minute.
And it was with Russ last time. We had it, a little setup in my basement. So we've upgraded on our end too, man. So, I'm your host over here, Matt Camp, head of partnerships at DealMachine, and on these spotlights, we really like to shine a spotlight on industry experts like yourself. Have you really educate us on how you see the real estate world evolving. So today, really excited to welcome back on Joey Mure. I know you're the co-founder and partner at Wealth Without Wall Street, an online community that seeks to re-educate business owners and families on being financially free and how money truly works. So, Joey, welcome back on, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. And I'll say this. I'm just going to give you a big just blowout right at the beginning. You should not listen to me as a thought leader, right? You should listen to me as a results leader. And I'll say this because we're updating from 2020. If you looked on our podcast where we share our personal passive income score every single month in June of 2020, that number was about $2,500. You should not listen to me in June of 2020. You're like, this guy is talking about financial freedom, but he doesn't have it. Well, fast forward 18 to 24 months after that. So kind of right in between when we were originally talking, that number is now over $50,000 a month. And it's because of the things we're going to talk about today. So you got to stop listening to thought leaders. Start listening to result leaders.
Yeah. Love that, man. That's a great way to come out the bat here. But I wanted to start there too, of just like, can you, it's been a little while, catch us up on how the last few years have been, how, your financial freedom, journey has evolved, how the business has evolved. Like, I'd love to start there.
Yeah, well, Wealth Without Wall Street really came about as a result of Russ and I seeking to take control of our own financial future. I think Wall Street is not just a street. It's not just something that we refer to as a place that you invest in and with. It's also a mindset, right? It's a mindset that cripples people into thinking that they can't invest on their own. They can't get to financial freedom. They need somebody smarter that has some sort of license that they don't have, that they can understand the complexities of the stock market and all this sort of stuff, and that their retirement is really not their retirement. They have to put it with somebody else in order to see results. And what I believe, about the DealMachine community is that you already have kind of broken through that mindset and said, you know what, I can actually put deals together myself. Like, I can go into the real estate world and I can fix and flip. I can wholesale. I can do short-term rentals. There's a million different possibilities that I can take advantage of and make happen for my own financial future. But the thing that I want to challenge people with today is what our community has evolved to is the mindset that you don't just always actively produce. You have to get to a point where your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses. Until that point, you may have replaced a job with a job, right? And there's a lot of real estate investors that we work with that have said, you know what? I may start off with this side hustle of flipping some homes or wholesaling or whatever to get out of my 9-to-5. Congratulations, right? Amazing. Take that step, get to the point where you no longer have to clock in, clock out of someone else's time. Their calendar is now yours to fill with what you want. But you also have to start thinking at some point, if I'm the only active part of this real estate business, I'm still not free, right? And so that's where I think the evolution has come since, right before 2020 and now to today. is our community, the Wealth Without Wall Street world, is committed to how do I step by step get to a position where I pull up the calendar on my app, on my phone, and I'll only have boxes, color coded, boxes on your calendar are only there because I put them there. Right? That is when you know that your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses and you're not required to be present for that income to continue to come in, you're free. That's what we're about. And, I'm sure we can dive into that, but just kind of give you a quick update on that.
Yeah, that's a great measuring stick there on how to think about what is financially free. Can you tell us? I know you mentioned, hey, last even when you talked to me back then, you're at a couple thousand a month in terms of passive income there. Now 20 times that or more. Like how can you kind of walk us through that journey? How that's evolved? How you were able to achieve that? Like I'd love to hear that story.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things that we did years and years ago, this is 15 years ago now, Russ and I started down this path because of a book called Become Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. He's the one that unfettered our eyes to see that, man, we should be the one taking control of our finances. We need to start putting money into the right location so that we can use that money to get to financial freedom. And up until that point, I was doing the same thing everybody else was doing, right? Going with the herd, doing the 401k, doing the IRAs, doing all of the alphabet soup that the IRS has produced, 529 plans, everything, putting money away and hoping for a future and not really understanding what it was about. And also kicking the can down the street for taxes and thinking that was a benefit to me. Well, once I understood this, and Russ and I started putting money into the right system. We call it the passive income operating system, where we utilize the infinite banking concept to store capital, and then we can borrow against it or leverage those dollars to then buy into assets that produce passive cash flow. Well, we started doing that, like I said, 15 years ago without even knowing what to invest in. And now fast forward, we started that podcast in 2017 and started interviewing guys that you've probably interviewed on this show that are excellent at understanding what to invest in. And so Russ and I had to grow as investors. And that means asking right questions, taking some chances, making some investments that didn't go so well, doing some things that did work out well, and looking back on it and saying, okay, now that we know where to put money, how to then invest it, now it's just to stack and perpetuate that through our system. And so when we did that in, like I said, 2020, we started investing heavily to create passive income. It all of a sudden started to make a lot of sense. And we went from, like I said, 2,500 to over 50,000 a month just by investing in things like raw land, like flipping raw land for notes. You've ever interviewed Mark Podolsky and the Land Geek, right? That's one of our top things that we produce the most income every month. But we started a short-term rental business. We've invested in RVs that we rent, Turo cars. We've done things like buying websites that are affiliate websites, e-commerce. I mean, you name it, there's like 21 different sources that we've gotten our hands into, and some of them we've gotten right back out of because they didn't work so well. But that's how we kind of got to this point.
That's so cool. You briefly touched on one concept there, the whole infinite banking concept, and I know you've talked about kind of the 3 steps to financial freedom before, and I believe that's step 1 that you really focus on. Can you kind of explain what that is and just give our audience kind of like a high level overview of that concept?
Absolutely. I think the best way to explain it is when I was at Wells Fargo Mortgage. This was before I learned this whole concept. I was handed that book and I read that Become Your Own Banker book. And in it, he stated that you need to really act like a banker, right? Become your own banker. And I was at Wells Fargo. So I'm like, okay, I get that. I mean, there's a lot of profit in banks. Nobody can deny that. Like they have the biggest and the best real estate holdings of all time. You drive into any major city, the big buildings are all bank buildings, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm like, he says, but you don't understand. Banks are putting large sums of money into high cash value life insurance. And I don't know about you, but that was a shock to me because, again, I thought they put money in real estate for sure. But beyond that, I'm like, why would they put money in life insurance? Like everywhere else around me. In fact, when I learned this, I went around to the highest like paid bankers, the executive vice presidents, the regional bank presidents of Wells Fargo. They were friends of mine. And I went to them and I was like, hey, I'm reading this book. It talks about high cash value life insurance being a storage place for capital. What do you think about that? And do you know not one of them, out of like at least 5 or 6 that I talked to, not one of them said it was a good idea. They all said, nobody puts money in life insurance. That's dumb. Don't do that. That's dumb. Simultaneously, Matt, this is no lie, and you can go look this up on the FDIC.gov website or any of those websites where you can see the balance sheet of your bank. It's all public knowledge. Wells Fargo, at the time that I was asking this question, again, this is 15 years ago, had over $18 billion on line item 41 for life insurance assets. 18 billion. Now, to give you some context, they only had 12 billion in real estate.
Wow.
So this is not a small idea. Like this is a big idea. And the shocking part, for me was even the people who are being insured, all those high level executives did not know that the bank was doing this. And so it really it shook me up. It was like, wait a minute, we need to stop doing what banks are telling us to do and start doing what banks are doing. And that unlocked something, Matt. I mean, the infinite banking concept unlocks where you've been told over your lifetime to put money in all these places, equity in your house, putting money into 401ks, 403bs, 529 plans, paying off debt as fast as possible. All these things separate you from your money. And they don't put you in a position to be a deal maker. But when you start putting money into this life insurance, the way we design it for cash value, all of a sudden, the money in those policies, they grow whether you invest with them or not. There's a guaranteed growth component of each one of these because it's a whole life insurance policy. It's designed, it has to grow over your lifetime at a contractual rate plus dividends. And it's growing tax-free. But the cool thing is I can borrow against it at any time, similar to equity in a piece of real estate, and it continues to grow. So it begs you. It says, hey, Matt, you got all this money in your life insurance policy. What are you going to do with it? And so if you haven't really leveled up as an investor, it will make you level up. It's really forcing your hand to become educated. And so that's really the first step. Put money into your own hands, into your own control. Secondly, become an investor and start to make investments aligned with who you are as an investor. We call it the investor DNA profile. And then third, just keep stacking those dollars because that machine will perpetually create the freedom that you're looking for.
Yeah. Man, I know the investor DNA specifically. Can you briefly touch on that as well, like what that's all about and why that is a valuable concept for people to understand?
For sure, and I'll tell you, we didn't do this right the first time. we learned about it by looking backwards and recognizing, man, there's some really bad decisions we've made along the way of investing. Like we've invested in things that just didn't work out so well, and we started to understand. There's a specific way that you and I are uniquely designed, right? God has given you a specific makeup, a specific, set of resources, experiences, what have you, right? Life circumstances. that those dictate what really will align with you from an investment profile, right? So you could say, hey, you know what, Joey, I interviewed this guy the other day. He's making 40% returns on fill in the blank. And you know what? Most people are like, oh, I need to do that because I need those kind of returns. But the question is not what should I invest in? It's what sort of investor am I? Because as soon as you align with what you're investing with, you can go fast. But if you start doing something that is totally against your personality type and totally against your makeup and your experience, you're probably going to fail. It doesn't matter if someone else can do really well in that vertical or not. It's you. You're the investor. And we started to recognize this by looking backwards, and we said, man, we need to really design a profile. Like we based it off of the DISC profile, if you've ever done that personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And as you do it, it gives you then insights as to what sort of passive income. We have like a matrix of 16 different passive income ideas and how they would either align or not align with you because of your personality type. Are you a high driver? Are you a conscientious, compliant kind of investor? Are you a steady, low key kind of investor? Are you this like life of the party, influencer type? All those things really dictate where you're going to see the most success.
Yeah, man, there's some, I don't want to run over on you here, Joey, but man, there's some intriguing stuff on here. Love hearing from you. Love hearing the journey you've been on, how you guys have evolved, over the last 4 or 5 years here as well. And, for our audience, if they want to, figure out more about their investor DNA, or if they want to take that next step, I know you guys have lined up something awesome for them as well. Do you want to mention that for a minute here too? Or?
Yeah, so for sure, anybody that wants to go deeper in any of these things, go to wealth.wallstreet.com/DealMachine. And we've really laid out the first step, because this is the issue. When you're investing in real estate, you're getting started, or you're even fully into your vertical and you're having some success. The number one biggest issue is not having the system that will support it long term. And so if you've jumped past that first step, you can always go back and set it up. And that's what I'm really offering to your audience. This can normally cost up to $2,000 for our team to set up. But if this is something that you want to invest in yourself, you have to educate yourself. And by the way, you have to qualify, because we don't work with everybody. But for anybody in the DealMachine community, we'll offer this same passive income operating system accelerator course. It's like a 4-week boot camp almost. We'll do it for $1. If you qualify, you fill out the form at wealth.wallstreet.com/DealMachine, and you qualify, you'll get the ability to talk to one of our teammates and make sure that they know that this is the $1 passive income operating system and not the full price, so you don't get overcharged. So that's my gift to your community. I want to always lead with generosity and allow people to get the same freedom that we're talking about.
Yeah, this is great stuff, Joey. Really, really appreciate you coming on. We'll make sure to link to that as well. The link you shared there. That's awesome. I might have to take a look at that myself too. So, awesome. Again, we'll have to have you back on a little more often than once every 5 years. But Joey, appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for spending time with us.
Likewise. Thank you.
Good stuff. And to everyone watching, again, this is Matt Camp over here with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.